Everyone, and welcome to our public hearing to discuss recycling and yard waste pickup in Columbus. I am Councilmember Emmanuel V, Chair of the Environment Committee. A reminder to everyone that this hearing is currently live on YouTube and Facebook and is also live and being recorded for rebroadcast on CTV, Columbus's government television channel 3. The rebroadcast schedule is available at www.columbus.gov. See, I wanted to just make sure that we've got everybody is here, and so I would like to thank and welcome our presenters this evening. This evening we have Tim Swager, the administrator of the Division of Refuse Collection, TJ Black, recycling manager in the Division of Refuse, Todd Diefendorfer, the deputy director of the Department of Neighborhoods, Carmen Duncans, the service manager of the 311 Customer Service Center, Taylor Greeley, the municipal representative at Rumpke, Mark O'Brien, regional vice president at Rumpke. Over the last several months, many of residents of Columbus have been experiencing delays and other challenges with both the recycling and yard waste collection. The city has received a great deal of correspondence surrounding this issue, with many residents concerned about both recent and historic delays. In an effort to be as transparent as possible and address the concerns of these residents of Columbus, I have decided to host this public hearing. Today, we will take a holistic approach by hearing from all stakeholders involved in the administration and how the communication of yard waste and recycling is occurring, with the goal of understanding how we get back on track. During this hearing, we will hear a presentation from the Division of Refuse over the current pickup situation and issues, what steps the city has taken to correct these issues, and next steps. We will hear from the Department of Neighborhoods regarding the 311 call center, their role in this process, and see some data related to 311 service requests specific to recycling and yard waste pickup. We'll hear from leadership at Rumpke about what is contributing to delayed or missed pickups, steps they are taking to combat these issues, and how Columbus residents can apply for jobs at Rumpke. Lastly, we will hear public testimony from those residents who signed up with our office ahead of this meeting. Without further ado, I would like to turn the floor over to Tim Swager and TJ Black from the Division of Refuse. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Councilmember Remy. I appreciate the opportunity to come discuss our yard waste and recycling contract that we have this evening and hear some public testimony about what we've all been experiencing and trying to get a hold of. The Division of Refuse is a division within the Public Service Department. We oversee the contract that the Rumpke company has to pick up yard waste and recycling every other week throughout the city of Columbus. So we manage that contract for that collection. And as part of that management, TJ Black, who's on this call as well, he manages the day-to-day operations and the complaints and concerns and operational issues that come up. So he'll be answering some of the more detailed questions that may arise. But that's the role that the Division of Refuse has, is we oversee this contract, and it's bid out every 5 years. And we are currently in year 5 of that contract with 2 additional 1-year options available within the current contract. So that's where we're at today with the contract, and I'll turn it over to TJ and he can explain what he specifically does.
Usually always by email, sometimes by telephone. Scott Jordan.
TJ, I'm sorry, you were on mute.
An operator.
You were on mute, sir. Could you begin again, please?
Are you not hearing me?
No, we do now. Just need to start over, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. On a day-to-day basis, I'm in contact with Rumpke, email and telephone. Scott Jordan is my primary contact with Rumpke. We monitor the 311 complaints, and they have this last contract year, which started April the 1st, they have skyrocketed, and we've been working with Rumpke to get them under control. And trying to get them down to a more reasonable, manageable number. The 311 staff, they do a great job. They send escalations over to Rumpke, and these are customers that have called in numerous times. And then when that doesn't work, 311 will send me the problem, and I will get a hold with Rumpke. I'll get a hold with the customer, and Rumpke does a good job in responding to my communications. The last major change that we did, Rumpke announced to us a few weeks ago that they were going to be working on Saturdays. And to take advantage of that extra day, they were going to provide service for us. We informed 311 to inform customers calling in that if you had a Monday and Tuesday collection, then we were giving Rumpke until the close of business Wednesday to get the Monday and Tuesday routes collected. And that's what they were conveying to the customers. If you had a Wednesday or Thursday collection, Rumpke had to the close of business Friday to get those routes up. The Friday collection was split on the remainder of the time they had on Friday to get Friday up, and then they give us the areas on Friday that they were going to collect Saturday, and that's what that was the last major change we've done in working with Rumpke and with 311 to try to respond, to the issue. It's primarily yard waste. There are recycling misses, but for the most part, it's yard waste, which is a very difficult collection. It's a manual collection. It's heavy. When you don't get it on time, we're having lots of rain. The bags get heavier. The bags break. It's kind of a snowballing problem, and it's a very, very difficult collection. And I know there's a lot of frustration out there. I'm fully convinced this Rumpke staff is working very, very hard and doing everything they can to get on top of this. Thank you.
Tim, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. So that's our role in refuse, how we're overseeing the contract, what we currently do. And then obviously 311 takes the citizen calls and complaints on that and conveys those to Rumpke, and then we monitor those as well.
Let's why don't we dive in a little bit about the contract? Tell us a little bit more about the length of time of the contract with Rumpke, what year we're in that, how it's how it's constructed, if you wouldn't mind.
Certainly. So we do a 5-year contract, which is essentially 5 1-year contracts because council has to approve it each year, but it's a 5-year contract that this is year 5 of the contract. We bid it out obviously 5 years ago now. Rumpke won the bid 10 years ago, and then 5 years ago we bid it out again. They were the only bidders for recycling and for yard waste. It was awarded to Rumpke at that time. We have the option on our 5-year contracts to do 1-year extensions through negotiations. That way we don't have to go back out the bid and go through that process. Or if we're working towards other agreements or other things, we can extend that based on the current circumstances. So the contract goes from March 31st. April 1 is the new contract year. So April 1 of this year started year 5 of the current contract within that. So Rumpke's been our hauler for the yard waste and our recycling for as long as I've been over at Refuse. So they've successfully bid as the low bidder the first time, and we're the only bidder the second time.
And for those that aren't aware, the trash industry is a little bit interesting to say the least, but there's typically major carriers or major Rumpke typically is the major trash collector, and provides a majority of refuse, outside of municipalities in the Central Ohio region. That's not unusual to the United States makeup, where specific haulers like Waste Management, Waste USA, other organizations have contracts in other municipalities where they might be the big player, but outside of smaller regional competitors, there's no one that comes near the size of Rumpke. Is that correct?
Yes, and Rumpke's locally invested here. They have what we call a MRF, the municipal recycling facility. So that's that's where our product goes, the recycling product goes, and then the yard waste goes to several locations, but one of two companies that contract through SWACO, Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio. They contract through them, and Rumpke's allowed to disperse of that yard waste at those locations. So they use a bunch of different locations to offload the yard waste, but all of the recycling goes back to their municipal recycling facility. They're the only large recycling facility in Central Ohio. They do all of Central Ohio as far as the large majority of the recycling in Central Ohio as that goes. And then also, it's important to note, they also do glass and ship that over to Dayton, their Dayton facility. So they have a large facility in Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus. So they're very large in this region of the Ohio here.
And we had a little conversation about glass. It's quite unusual to have at least a large municipality pick up glass. Is that correct?
Yeah, certainly. Glass is a very difficult commodity to get someone to recycle on the back end. So while it's it's heavy, it damages your vehicles when you crush. It's just a lot to do, so it's very hard to collect. But we're very fortunate that Rumpke has a glass recycling facility in Dayton. So they collect all the glass in this region and ship it over to Dayton. I'm certain Rumpke could speak more eloquently about exactly what they do with it, but they take that over to Dayton and process that over there. But we are one of the very few large cities that is fortunate enough to have a hauler that accepts glass and has a outlet for glass, because that's the main thing that on the recycling side is there's a ton of materials that people will say are recyclable, and they are, but you have to have somebody that wants the commodity on the back end. So just because something is recyclable doesn't mean it can be recycled, because if nobody has an outlet for it or somebody that wants to purchase that commodity, it has no value. So Rumpke has large users lined up with their contracts to utilize these materials. So that's where the advantage comes on the recycling for the glass for the city of Columbus.
Most of these places need to be local to where the recycling is being generated from, because the shipping costs many times prohibit anything longer, away a distance. And to that point, we had a big win earlier this year because of Rumpke's work in finding a buyer or end user for number 5 plastics, correct?
Yeah, that, and we've got the new paper manufacturing plant in Ohio. So we've got a lot of things, and this is where we talk about the circular economy going is we need to find and continue to contribute to companies that want to come here and utilize recycled plastic. So when we can encourage and have recycled products and then have an outlet for them. So, I mean, the overall thought process is, council member, is if you drink a bottle of, your soft drink bottle, it's plastic. You drink it here, you recycle it here, it's processed here, and then it's reused here to make the next bottle. That's that circular economy that we're looking for. And the biggest challenge is finding users within the region that make it viable to keep recycling those products. So we encourage throughout public service and throughout the city through Sustainable Columbus, we encourage entrepreneurship that will identify resources. So we're using tires and asphalt. We do tons of different things to encourage recycling throughout the division. And one of our large ones, obviously, is our recycling contract with Rumpke, because that diverts it from over 30,000 tons every year from the landfill into the recycling market.
And certainly good stuff, but we also are here because we have a problem. And, our office, our council colleagues, my council colleagues' offices, certainly 311, who we'll hear from next, your offices, we have an issue that needs to be corrected. Service performance issues and service failures. And so, obviously Rumpke will have the opportunity moving ahead to speak a little bit more about this. But from your perspective, what is it that we can do from a city perspective and, to be better partners with Rumpke and to work through some of these issues, which I'm sure they'll be presenting about here shortly?
Yeah, so in the past, when we've had, let's not be foolish here to believe that this is a one-time thing. It's been worse this year. Yard waste always becomes a challenge in early spring and late fall because the amount of yard waste greatly increases for a short period of time. For that 4 to 6 week period, people are out weeding their gardens, grass starts to grow, so all of those things occur, and then in the fall, all the leaves. So we've naturally seen a large increase in complaints and in issues throughout the years with the contract. This year has been even more. Some of the things that we've done with Rumpke is we started a call. We have every day they email us where they're at, how much they're done, when they think they'll be caught up, and then we have a meeting tomorrow morning. We're going to do weekly meetings to discuss what are we doing to get caught up, how can we help. So the main thing for us is just communication. What I've stressed to Rumpke throughout this is our residents are frustrated by not collecting it, but they're more frustrated by not knowing when it's going to be collected. I think, from our experiences, if we were able to send a clear-cut message, and that's what we've been working on, is if we told you, hey, your recycling is 2 days behind at the beginning of the week, and you didn't have it sitting out, you'd be much more apt to understand the plight. So that's what we've been working on lately, is trying to message it better and know exactly where we're at so people understand when will they be by our street to collect our yard waste, and once they're there or don't get there, when do I call into 311 if they're not? So if I'm a Monday collection and we're saying by the end of the day Wednesday, that means on Thursday, if you're not collected, you should be calling into 311. So it's kind of the messaging side of it. That's where we're trying to really improve ourselves, and that's where I think our best avenue is, while Rumpke internally corrects and tries to bring on board folks to improve the process. Our role right now would be just better messaging and more clear-cut, defined pickup times and that we can give to the residents so that they understand the expectations.
Makes sense. I often get asked, and I'm sure many of my colleagues do as well, why don't we just bring this all in-house? Why don't we take care of this ourselves? Could you explain a little bit about the cost associated with that if we were to do something along those lines?
Yeah, and Councilmember, you know me, when I looked at every aspect of this before we rebid it as well. We looked at the cost, what it would cost us to bring it in-house. It's a large capital investment. That's one of the barriers. Currently, we collect refuse for 344,000 addresses every week. So we're collecting 1 million people's trash, the division of refuse. So we focus on the solid waste. So we looked at what would it take to do yard waste? What would it take to do recycling if we collected it? The issue for us is that we don't have any room at our current facilities to house any more trucks or any more people. So first we'd need to build a building, which is about $17 to $20 million to build a compliant building to allow us to haul. Then we'd have to buy about 20 trucks minimum to start the process. Trucks are about $300,000 a piece. So we're looking at about 6 million. So we're in for 26 million. That doesn't count hiring the 30 to 40 drivers that we would have to hire. So when we've looked at this, the initial capital investments in the 30 to 40 million dollar range, and then we'd have the annual operating cost that would be slightly less than Rumpke, but the lifespan to catch up is about 40 to 50 years. And then at that point, we would be needing another facility again, and starting this process over. So we've kind of looked at the financials of that. Is it ever doable? Sure, anything's doable. And if costs continue to rise and we have issues, we always will continue to look at what are our opportunities. But the initial investment, finding the land, building a building, gearing up for something like that is really prohibitive to getting into this line of work. And it's seasonal. So Rumpke, not to speak for them, but they work throughout the region, so they can use workforces other places. So when in the spring and fall, when all of a sudden you need 40 people to pick up yard waste, And then in the fall 40, what do you do with those employees in the summer and the winter? So you have that employment issue because it spikes and then decreases, spikes and decreases. Rumpke's able to utilize those folks, move them around because they've got a larger operation, multiple cities throughout Ohio, so they can use that workforce, fill in gaps and vacancies, move people around. We would have to employ those folks year round to have any type of connectivity and continuity on our routing. So we would have, a large cost year round for that process to come in-house.
Makes sense. I think that's about all I have for you right this moment, but stay tuned. We might have questions from our speakers. Next, we will hear from Todd Diefendorfer and Carmen Duncans from the Department of Neighborhoods and the 311 Customer Service Center. Thank you for joining us this evening. Todd and Carmen, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate the opportunity to join you tonight. As the front door to the city for our residents in the Department of Neighborhoods, really our piece of the puzzle here tonight is the 311 Customer Service Center. So really appreciate this opportunity to share some more information about how you can connect with us, how we operate, and sort of what we've seen in terms of what's coming in from the community. In many ways, 311 has two customers. We have the residents who are working to receive their comments and requests and get those routed to the appropriate city department for service. We also appreciate the partnership with all of the city departments, including service, to work with them to make sure that we have the right information to share with our residents, to make sure we're routing things in the correct way. So, as was mentioned from TJ, it's a good partnership there to make sure that we are collecting this information and allowing the service department to use it in a way to administer this program effectively. I'd like to turn it to Carmen Duncans, who's the manager of the 311 Service Center, to walk through a little bit about ways to connect with 311 and then some more information about the work that we're doing right now. Carmen?
Thanks so much, Todd. Thank you, Councilmember Remy, and all of our servicing departments, Tim and TJ, Rumpke, and everyone who has joined the call. Thanks so much for the opportunity to share a little bit about 311. Not to take up a whole bunch of time, but I did have a PowerPoint slide. If it's okay, Councilmember, I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Doesn't look like I have that option. Okay, thank you. Bear with me. So please let me know if everyone can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So as Todd mentioned, my name is Carmen Duncans. I have the privilege of serving as your 311 service manager, managing the 311 Customer Service Center for the City of Columbus. We are glad to be here. 311 is embedded in the Department of Neighborhoods within the City of Columbus, where Carla Williams-Scott is the director of the Department of Neighborhoods, and 311 reports up through Todd Diefendorfer, who's on this call. He is our deputy director. So as the 311 Service Center, we basically have the capacity to assist with a variety of things, from citizens needing to report issues regarding things that they are witnessing or experiencing in their neighborhoods, in the community. They can contact 311 to request city services. Any questions that you may have about city programming or city initiatives, you can contact 311, and we would be able to assist you and make sure that you are routed or connected to the proper department in order to get your issues, your questions, or your concerns answered. So again, basically, we are your first point of contact, one-stop shop, if you will. We are the link between citizens and city government. And our sole goal primarily is to help you eliminate confusion of navigating a lot of phone numbers or trying to figure out which department you would need to reach out to in order to get whatever your issue, your concern, or your question is. What we do at 311, as was mentioned, we have two customers. We have our beloved citizens of Columbus, Ohio, and also our servicing departments that work so hard and diligent to try and get the services and resolve any issues and address any issues that our residents are reporting up through 311. So 311 is all things for the city of Columbus. You may contact us Monday through Friday. Our call center is open from 8 to 5. You can reach us landline or you can call 614-645-3111, or if you have on your landline, and some cell carriers will also allow you to just dial the number 311, and that will put you into the call center. If you need services from the city, and you are calling outside of those business hours, you can reach us 24/7. You can email us at 311@columbus.gov. You can visit the website and use our self-service online portal, www.311.columbus.gov. And the City of Columbus also has a My Columbus app where you can also access services and get to 311 in order to report an issue. This slide here is just giving you a picture of the number of contacts that 311, our service reps, receive from year to year to year. You can see from 2019, and this goes through May the 31st of this year. But in 2019, 311 fielded more than roughly 529,000 contacts. And that is people calling us on the phone, emailing, using the online portal, using the mobile app, and also leaving us a voice messages so that we will respond as soon as we get those. Of those contacts, generally, the top 20 service requests from year to year don't necessarily change all that much. And as you can see, this is more than a top 10, but these are primarily in the year of 2020, all of the top service requests that residents were contacting us about, and the number of service requests that we actually took for these types of issues and concerns. On this screen, you'll see that in 2020, Rumpke landed, it looks like 7th and 8th for missed yard waste. We fielded about 7,886 service requests for that particular concern. And then right underneath that is the recycling with the 64-gallon missed service request. That is a service request type, and there were about 65,000 of those. So that was a total for the year of 2020. This year, we just took a snapshot of what we've taken in through the end of May. And right underneath bulk pickup, which bulk pickup is primarily over half of what 311 residents are, requesting that particular city service. Right now, Rumpke is sitting just through May at 7,677 for missed yard waste, and then the recycling miss is right underneath that. And so I understand that is why we're all here. So we just wanted to share again, because I know the purpose of this meeting is to be transparent, and that's where we are. And so 311 again is here. We're here. We're taking your requests. We're routing those and working with you, our citizens, and our servicing departments to make sure that we are getting to you. Just the last two slides, I just wanted to share that 311, we do have over the phone interpretation services. We have 2 in-house reps who are Spanish speaking, and then we also have partnered with Language Line, which is our interpretation service, and we are able, to serve anyone speaking any language outside of English. If English is not your primary language, we are still able to assist you. So we encourage residents, again, whatever your issue, whether it's, yard waste or recycling or whatever your issue or concern or question is, please contact 311 and we will be able to assist you, and happy to do so. Last slide I wanted to share is that coming in the fall, we have heard lots of requests and information for improved or enhanced customer service when you're calling into 311, when you are accessing us digitally. And so also internal processes and workflows we're hoping to improve. 311 will be implementing in the fall of this year, a new system, customer relationship management system. We've heard loud and clear from residents We're excited about this project. You will hear much more information, and I know we're here for recycling and yard waste, but we wanted to get that in to let you know that you will have, we're expecting a new system, and we're excited about that. Thank you so much. That's it. And I will pass it back to you, Councilmember Remy.
Thank you, Carmen. We appreciate it. Looking at the website, I think everybody's going to be excited to move from the 90s to the 2020s.
Absolutely.
Certainly antiquated and not sufficient to serve the customers or the residents of Columbus, but excited for the fall.
Yes.
So obviously, they're at their numbers from the entirety of last year already in May, which, talk to us a little bit about the strain that puts on your staff. And it pretty much leads the kind of the time commitment that your staff's putting in to try to handle these, and then talk about the process of where you send those complaints directly to Rumpke or and that kind of the flow.
So obviously it is frustrating. We understand that residents are frustrated because we are the front line for the contacts in order to route the questions and the concerns. Then yes, the reps do hear a lot from residents, and rightfully so. People are, frustrated, they're irritated. And so we provide as much information as possible. Rumpke passes information through our refuge department. They do share with us regarding the service delays. We get those. We share that with our team, and as much as possible, try to be, again, transparent and inform residents when we know exactly where they are. What we do is totally customer driven. And so when they want to lodge a complaint or a concern, of course, we write that up, and that data is passed directly to Rumpke. So the service request types that you see, missed yard waste, missed recycling, those are routed directly to Rumpke for them to address.
And then I believe that refuse gets an aggregate report of number of calls, but not the specifics. Is that accurate?
I believe refuse has access to both the aggregate and the specifics. They would be able to, if they need it, we can provide that. Yes.
I'd like to recognize my colleague, Councilmember Dorans. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Feel free to jump in at any time. Tim, could you talk a little bit about the reporting and then how these end up on kind of your heat maps?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to TJ Black for the hotspot list that we do, but TJ is better equipped to answer that one.
Okay. You're on mute, TJ. You're on mute. There you go. Try it. There you go.
Carmen, one thing that you did do in order to help this process that you didn't mention is that you've reached out to the Department of Technology a couple of times and to help Rumpke process the increase in the number of service requests that came in, and that I understand that was beneficial. I get a daily report of outstanding service requests from 311. It is detailed. I mean, so it goes on for pages. We got up to the high point of outstanding service requests was like 8,500 at one point in time. Today, I was pleased it was down to 3,500. A lot of service requests have been caught up on and closed out. And I cautioned Rumpke about doing it, not to close these things out flippantly, because what really frustrates our customers if they go online and they look and the service request that they've created has been closed out, has been collected, and they look out their door and there sits their recycling container or their yard waste bags. And so I've had numerous conversations with Rumpke about you got to make sure you have indeed collected these residents before you close these out. And so the closing out process is tedious. They really shouldn't be, and I don't believe that they are closing them out en masse. They need to, check and make sure that these have been serviced. The hotspot list, there's a $200 charge if an address is missed in a contract year. Contract year, once again, is April 1st through March 31st. 3 times the address is put on a hotspot list. It's kind of there to flag that address, and hopefully it doesn't get missed again. That comes with a $200 charge that we've done this year. If Rumpke misses an address that's on the hotspot list, that's an additional $200 charge. So in April, the charges amounted to $10,000. In the month of May, the charges amounted to $18,200. And 311, their call takers go back and they look at the records when somebody calls in, and they look at the history of the account, and they know the parameters to put somebody on a hotspot list. And there are 2 different avenues here. You have a yard waste hotspot list, and you have a recycling hotspot list. So an address could possibly generate 2 different hotspots. Any questions about that, Councilman?
No, I am familiar with the resident on the west side, that maybe helped to spawn this hearing, because this person had been missed so many times, and through the process nothing had been remedied. And I know that is now on the hot spot, but again, I think what I learned about the process is that Rumpke can't close those out. And we don't necessarily, we just wouldn't have the bandwidth to check every single one of them to see if they're appropriate or not, appropriately closed out. So it's important that people do call, especially when there's habitual problems. And we know these happen, strange streets or, strange collection points, different things occur. But it's important that people keep on telling us, because that obviously is information we use to make it right. Carmen and Todd, what is there anything that the division can do or Rumpke can do to make it better for 311 operations? Any suggestions in improving the process?
Timely collections would improve, yes, the process. And I believe, Rumpke, we do see that they are sharing information with us. And so we are appreciative of that, because we can pass that on to the residents and let people know, what the service delays exactly are. And a lot of times that does tend to, it's helpful. And the Rumpke, I also have to say, they are very responsive to our lead team. So the management team for 311, when we have those cases that need to be escalated, I have 4 amazing leads, and they are in constant contact and communication with TJ, his team, and with Scott Jordan, his team at Rumpke. And so they are responsive to us. And so again, we, keep the communication flow open. We understand that it is a challenge, and they're going to share, Rumpke's going to share what those challenges are. But I appreciate the communication. Want to make sure we continue that, because we can, again, be in the front line. We can pass that on to our residents. And we also appreciate, this is the partnership, because when we call, they are responsive.
Yeah, absolutely. We also explored in talking the other day about, what can you put out from a messaging perspective obviously an improved website would be incredibly helpful to be able to see whatever you put out there, especially in an emergent issue like this. But it sounds like more towards the fall, and I know the department themselves are responsible for giving you the information to put out. I talked with Tim Swagger about conveying that information. I think they have it to some degrees to say, hey, if your collection's on Monday or Tuesday, Rumpke's been running, as late as Wednesday to pick those up. Thursday, Friday, some broad messaging. We still need to know, that there's been a service failure though, from a contract perspective. So that's important as well. But we certainly want our partners to be successful. And so, I'm going to move on to them and allow them to talk about their story and look for different types of, the solutions that they have proposed and what they're working on. So we're going to hear now from Taylor Greeley and Mark O'Brien from Rumpke. Thank you both for joining us this evening. And the floor is now yours.
Thank you. And first of all, let me start by telling you how extremely grateful we are that the city of Columbus and yourself, Councilman Remy, have reached out to us and invited us to have a voice in this public hearing. I want to introduce myself. I'm Mark O'Brien. I've been in the waste industry 34 years. I came to work for Rumpke 4 years ago, and it's the best decision I ever made. Rumpke is a company, Ohio-based company, Cincinnati, Ohio, started in 1932. They have 3,600 employees. We have 14 landfills, 12 MRFs. One of those MRFs is right here in Columbus, Ohio, in the Milo Grogan community. Tim mentioned it and talked highly about it. We do glass recycling, which goes to Dayton. We ship anywhere from 70 to 150 ton a day to Dayton, Ohio, which is a state-of-the-art facility. Of the 3,600 employees, we have 400 right here in the city of Columbus. We are located at 1191 Fields Avenue. It's south of the fairgrounds, in between 11th and 5th. We also have our east area headquarters there. And both those buildings that we are in are basically recycled. The one where the MRF is in is over 100 years old. We do anywhere from 9, 10 to 13,000 ton a month of recyclables. Of those recyclables, 95% of those are domestically sold, and 80% of them are sold in the state of Ohio to companies like Pratt Paper, ADS, and also Pure Recycle. We've also increased our list of recyclables. And even during the downtimes, we invest in the plant, but we are taking polypropylene tubs now. So we are really aggressive in what we're doing. We've also been in this city for 30 years at that location. And if you ever drive by it, we house 168 trucks there. It is a massive operation. And the last thing I want to say before we get on to some questions is I've been an Ohio native for 61 years. And yes, that's how old I am. I'm 61. And I love the state of Ohio. I love working in Columbus, and born and raised here. And I believe in Ohio. So Taylor, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, I can do so real quick. My name is Taylor Greeley. I'm Rumpke's Municipal and Public Sector Representative. I am also a Ohio native. I'm actually Columbus born and bred, been here for 30 years in the city. And I've been at Rumpke for 10 of those. I'm part of the community. The community is part of me. Went right over here to both undergrad and graduate school at The Ohio State University. So like so many of the employees at our Columbus site, 400 of them, this community is in my blood, and we're committed to it. We're here tonight to learn from and listen to our fellow residents. And we just want to say that we're open to your ideas. We want to hear where you're at with things, because we're here to learn, we're here to help.
Well, thank you both. Why don't you talk a little bit about what got us here? You know, we talked a little bit earlier in the week, but, you know, what is it that has caused these delays to occur? You know, talk about staffing levels, et cetera.
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying that we owe many Columbus residents an apology, and we owe you some major gratitude. The service that you've seen recently is not the service that you know we expect of ourselves, and it's not the kind of service that you deserve. To briefly share kind of what's going on, we are experiencing the impacts of a diminishing workforce. It's not just a Columbus thing, it's a region thing, and it's a national thing. It is particularly affecting the waste and recycling industry. These are unprecedented times, and our focus right now is on making it better. Like I said, we're open to any connections you have to reach out to the community. Basically, you know, we need more drivers. What we've done so far, we've lowered our hiring age, so people 19 and up can apply to Rumpke. We're an equal opportunity employer. We offer a CDL driver trainee school. So anyone with or without experience can come in. We'll train you. It's a paid-for program. There's also an opportunity for a $7,500 sign-on bonus at the end of that program. We're offering attendance bonuses to our current employees. We've also raised their wages, and drivers can make up to $1,300 a week in pay. So it is a great job. It's a great place to work. We need to get that word out, because getting more drivers in the store is really a huge part of improving service for everyone, you know. And just to speak to the impacts of our efforts are working. So what we've done in terms of recruitment, retention, all of this is having an impact. So we're seeing more applicants coming in. We have more trainees in our school. We have 22 right now. And so the more that our team grows, the more households are going to get collected over time. That being said, there is a challenge right now, and we're very, very sorry for that. We're doing everything that we can to make it better.
And if I could just add one other thing, we also pulled employees from out of the district into our location. We had 16 drivers here this week from other locations, such as Cincinnati, Dayton, Lima, Findlay, Cary, those areas to help us out. And we do offer a very dynamic package for healthcare and 401k, tuition reimbursement. And we also are feeding our employees. We feed them breakfast and lunch. And anybody can apply at rumpke.com careers. We would be really excited to get as many employees as we possibly can get.
Well, appreciate that insight. I've got some questions, of course. You know, one of those has been contacted by residents who are not as angry about the miscollection as they are that the service requests had been closed out by Rumpke and not being collected pretty often. And so I'd like to hear why that might be happening.
Yeah, we do everything that we can to stay coordinated with 311 311. It's a great team to work with. You know, I can't necessarily speak to any individual address. It's good that people are submitting those through 311. Right now, as Tim mentioned, we did begin having a weekly meeting. So we're hoping to improve that collaboration, to learn more about the specific issue that you're talking about, council member. And so we're going to keep working on that.
And, you know, again, talking with people who live in the suburbs, they don't seem to be experiencing these types of delays. I mean, can you speak to why this is happening specifically in Columbus, as it does not seem to be happening in some of our suburban neighbors?
Yeah, this is actually not an isolated issue. This challenge is happening throughout Central Ohio, throughout the region, throughout the nation. You know, what we're doing right now to fix it everywhere is hiring more drivers. And that's really what we need. We need more drivers in the door to improve the service throughout Central Ohio, throughout these communities. But this is not isolated to a particular city, to a particular neighborhood in Columbus. These challenges are being experienced throughout Central Ohio and much further.
Can you speak to why it affects yard waste collection much more than it does recycling, please?
Yeah. Yard waste collection is it is seasonal. So it peaks in the spring and the fall, in April, May, and then again in November. And during those periods, it can be up to 4 times more than in other seasons. So it is a bit more of a challenge to service yard waste because of those fluctuations. Recycling, on the other hand, which is the other service that the Rumpke provides to the city, recycling is pretty consistent year round, with some smaller peaks around the holidays. As Tim mentioned, that comes to a recycling facility right here in the city of Columbus. That was a major investment that Rumpke made. We work with Ohio end users to keep 80% of that material in Ohio. You know, we're very involved in glass recycling. We have a unique state-of-the-art glass recycling facility in Dayton to make sure that glass is recyclable, or that glass can be recycled in the City of Columbus program. And so, you know, yard waste and recycling are services that Rumpke provide, but that is part of the reason why yard waste can be a bit more challenging than recycling.
Obviously, I don't know that you can predict this, but when, you know, if you could, I mean, when do you think that service will be back on track for more people than not? You know, when will we get out of this arena? You mentioned 22 people or so in training, but what's it going to take to get out so that we could, our residents will feel a consistent schedule is back in place? Mark, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. We can tell you right now that we are, right now, as we sit here, on schedule. Our job is to keep it at that peak. We have brought other employees in from other areas. Now, that doesn't always sit well when we have yard waste that is out there and it's 4 times as heavy as it is. Usually through the month of May and through the Memorial holiday, with the additional day off that we have, and we pick up 8 days of trash instead of 7 days of trash when we follow our recycling or yard waste. So we can't foresee the future right now, but we do have employees in place. We have employees in the background. We have employees training, and I am happy to say, as of today, we are on schedule, and we feel that tomorrow we will complete our routes, and it all starts over on Monday. So.
And if I might add, we're doing a lot in the meantime to make sure that while those employees are in training, basically what happens is, we get people in the door, but we can't put them right on the truck. It's a very safety sensitive job. We want to make sure that our drivers go home to their families at the end of the day. We also want to make sure that this community is safe, and these are very large trucks. So in the meantime, while those drivers are in school, learning the profession, our current drivers are working longer hours. They're working some nights and weekends to get their neighbors collected, because these people live and work in the city of Columbus too. On top of that, we're bringing in drivers, other Rumpke drivers from throughout Ohio to support the Columbus operation and work here. We had 16 of them just this week coming in to support our team. And we're also reaching out to local organizations and partners. One of the partners that we're working with for workforce development is the Workforce Development Board of Central Ohio. We're also working with Columbus Public Schools to create a more long-term solution, because this is something, the service that you're experiencing is not okay. This is something that we want to protect against in the future. And so we're reaching out into the community to bring more drivers in the door, and we need them. We encourage anyone who knows somebody that is looking for a job, or who wants to come in themselves, to apply at rumpke.com/careers.
Yeah, and the last thing I would like to add to that too is what we have in background check. As Taylor said, we are selective about who we pick. We just don't want anybody driving a 30,000-pound truck around the neighborhoods. We do have 30 to 34 people in background check right now that aren't a part of what we announced earlier. So we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to hiring. And the managers and the team at Rumpke have worked night and day to get this rectified. And I can't tell you how much I take this personally, and I apologize for the issues we've had recently.
I've also noticed a little bit more advertising for employment as well. Just listen to the radio. Talk a little bit about your training program, the length of it, what it entails, obviously with the safety, but just so people that might be interested in applying know what to expect.
Yes. So for a driver trainee and being 19 years old, we would like to have a clean driving record. When they come on, they don't need experience. We take it from there. We put them through a classroom setting where we help them to get their permits for the CDL. We go over every safety and compliance issue you can imagine. We are restricted by DOT regulations, which only allow us so many hours of work per day and per week. And so what we do with our safety program is we educate them from the bumper to bumper on a truck, and from the ground up. We get them on the truck. We get them with a trainer. Sometimes it takes up to 4 weeks to maybe 6 weeks. It depends on the student or employee that comes along, and they get paid while they're learning. That's a unique thing with this, and it's a good pay. It's not anything that you start at an entry level. You get paid well, and then when you do get your CDL license, you're still with a trainer until he signs off on them. So our number one priority, as Taylor said, is safety. We want every driver and every community member to go home safe at night. And like I said, that's our number one priority.
What could Rumpke do better? Not just with the hiring, but I mean, to be better partners with the Division of Refuse and 311.
There's always room for improvement when it comes to being better partners. But I have to say, in my 34 years, we have a great working relationship with Tim, TJ, and We strive to do the right things every day. And we get after each other. TJ is a perfect example of that. And he keeps everybody in check. And the unique thing with this is to keep the communication lines open. We could always do a better job at that on our end. And also communicating with the residents. As I said, sometimes when you quadruple the amount of yard waste that's out there, you don't know what your next street's going to bring you. You don't know how far you can get. As Taylor also said with recycling, we can dump 24 hours at our location. That helps us also on that end. So I think we got a great working relationship. We value the partnership with the city of Columbus, especially with Tim, TJ, and Carmen. And, our communications is where we can always be better.
I don't want to miss this opportunity to talk a little bit about some recycling do's and don'ts, and as environmental chair, to encourage people to buy mulching blades for their mowers. Don't need to bag and ship those off, because the environmental costs of the transportation and everything else all affect our overall objectives of reducing greenhouse gas, et cetera. But I think it's important to note, I think we've all gone out and looked at the blue containers outside and saw the plastic bags sticking out through them. Talk about what those plastic bags do for your workers, and of course the cost that the city has to incur because of those types of things.
Yes, and thank you for that opportunity also. So in our recycling center, in our recycling plant, we call them screens, disc screens. And what they do is they rotate at a fast pace. When those bags get in there, they build up and then they stop the screens. That shuts the plant down and that backs up the operation. So that's why we do not ask for bags in there. And that's one of the number one thing that we sort out before it goes through the rest of the plant. And that's the bags. The other thing that's so important, especially for our employees' livelihood, is batteries. This time of year, everybody gets out their weed eater and they got their power batteries, and they see recycling on that battery, so they throw it in the recycling bin or in a drop box, and we get them in the plant. And what they do is they combust, and a fire would be traumatic, not only to our employees' livelihood, but to the Rumpke family. And our main objective is to educate. We strive on getting 87% of all our volume that comes through the recycling center and processed and out to the market. And this time of year, sometimes it varies because of everything that's getting put out. We give tours of the plant. Councilman Remy, we would love to give you a tour of our facility. Yesterday, we gave 2 tours, and it's enlightening, and it's unbelievable what we see that gets thrown away. People think wood's recyclable. Canisters, gas canisters, helium canisters. It's amazing how much we get through our recycling plant that is not recyclable. And that's why we lean on SWACO, and also on our website, our acceptable materials that are approved. And like I said, we keep adding more to that. We added polypropylene this year. 2 years ago, when the markets weren't paying anything for mixed paper and cardboard, it was very low. We invested $500,000 in a drum feeder and conveyor system. We invested last year in heavy equipment, a loader that was $410,000. So every year we are investing, and that's what I love about the Rumpke family. They're not in it for filling their pockets. They're in it to reinvest in the community, into the plant, and into the economy.
And if I could add one more thing that residents can do, please break down your cardboard boxes. The benefit of that is twofold. For you, it'll create more space in your recycling container. There's a lot of people trying to recycle a lot of things. So the more you recycle the right items and breaking down those cardboard boxes, shipping to the household has increased with the challenges that we've experienced with COVID. So there's a lot of cardboard at the household being generated at the household there. And cardboard in and of itself is a really great story. It's closed loop in the state of Ohio. Those Amazon boxes that you get at your house, you break them down, you put them in your recycling container, comes a couple miles down the road to Rumpke's recycling facility, processed, put out the other side, and that's shipped to Pratt Paper in Wapakoneta, Ohio. That's turned right into another Amazon box, stuff's packed in it, and it's shipped back to you. So that is a great way to support your local economy. That's a great way to support environmental and sustainability initiatives. And that's not the story just with cardboard. That's the story with a number of the items that Rumpke accepts and processes. We believe in these local partnerships.
Yeah, and I encourage people to go to recycleright.org, recycleright.org. That is SWACO's site that talks about all the different types of materials that can and cannot be recycled, or for the instance of batteries, et cetera, where you can take those things to have them recycled properly. Also want to mention that for those like our household that has more than one container and the need for more than one, we are continually filling ours up and stuffing them, overflowing almost by the time pickup occurs. Both of our materials or both of our containers, you can order a container through the city of Columbus by calling 311. They run roughly $45 and they will be delivered to your house. And we hope that there's more and more of a need for that. And in that vein, I'm very proud and happy to join with the Department of Refuse to pay for an ambassador program that we're going to pilot this year to get ambassadors out there to talk more about, especially in our opportunity areas, about what is recyclable, what's not recyclable, the benefits of recycling. And so, again, the more people that can do that, the better. It would be nice to see this recycling have an uptick throughout the city. So, all right. I appreciate the opportunity to hear from all of you today. And I think I want to turn it to as public speakers at this point. And I do have one question outside of from social media. What percentage of Rumpke staff are women and minorities? Do you happen to know those numbers offhand?
Yes. Right now, at the Columbus location, we are 59% minority, and we're 12.9% women.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for that. All right. This evening, we have 5 speakers who have reached out to my office ahead of the public hearing to give spoken testimony, as well as 14 people who have submitted written testimony. Many of the questions have been asked already through some of the questions that I asked. Thank you for everyone that has provided written testimony and course testimony that we'll have as we begin our speakers. So tonight we're going to begin with Pastor O'Shea. Is Pastor O'Shea on the line?
I'm sorry, Councilmember, I do not see Pastor O'Shea on the line.
Okay. Our next speaker is Liliana Rivera Bayman, and just wanted to remind our speakers that we have 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes to speak, and if you could introduce yourself and what your address and what organization you may represent, that would be helpful. Liliana, are you there?
I am here. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. My name is Liliana Rivera Bayman. I am a proud resident of the Southside City, part of Columbus, and I also serve as a labor commissioner for our Southside Area Commission. This evening, you undoubtedly will hear from many residents about the complaints about the service that is provided by Rumpke. You may even hear about the outrageous cost of this service to Columbus taxpayers, including an astounding 50% cost increase from $30 to $45 million for the current 5-year deal. But I'm here tonight to offer another perspective and share the labor practices of this contractor. Rumpke is currently the subject of a class action wage theft claim titled Gambrill versus Rumpke Transportation Company, LLC, filed by the welders of the company. The suit alleges that Rumpke has a company-wide policy of requiring a meal break deduction to be taken from its hourly welders' daily hours worked, even though the welders were unable to take an uninterrupted meal break. These employees allege that even when they did not clock out for those meal breaks, Rumpke directed its managers to manually deduct 30 minutes from the welders' daily hours worked, regardless of whether the welders actually took full meal breaks. This is not the first Rumpke awful labor practice that's been called to question. In 2007, 40 day labor workers and their supporters from the clergy, labor, and community organizations gathered in Cincinnati to remember a day laborer killed at a Rumpke tire shredding factory facility. A colleague who had worked with the victim at the same facility pointed out that neither she nor any other temporary workers received safety training before or during their assignments at Rumpke. Our residents deserve better than to spend millions subsidizing Rumpke's mistreatment of workers. And fortunately, we have an alternative right in front of us. While my neighbors frequently suffer from poor services from our Rumpke contracted recycling pickup, we rarely suffer the same issues with our trash service. That's because, unlike the recycling, trash is handled in-house by the City of Columbus employees. We are confident that they receive fair wages, retirement security, and safe work environment because they are members of AFSCME Local 1632 and are covered by a union contract. As an example, Rumpke employees classified as refuse collectors report to the website Indeed.com an average hourly wage of $10 an hour. The exact same job title in the city union contract starts at over $19 an hour. Perhaps the poverty level wages help explain Rumpke's reported annual revenue of $1.4 million. In the interest of taxpayers and workers in our city, I implore council to end the irresponsible, expensive contract with Rumpke when it is up for renewal and to invest in citywide in-house trash and recycling collection, regardless of the excuse that it is too large and too expensive of an undertaking. We need to only look at what happened when the city, with the Columbus City Schools elected to end their disastrous subcontracting arrangement. Sorry, I think that was my timer.
Yeah, if you have any thoughts to finish, please feel free.
Sure. Other than saying, thank you for your time. City schools have purchased a whole new fleet of buses and save taxpayers money. And I think we could do the same with our recycling and trash pickup. Thank you, Councilor Remy.
I appreciate your testimony today, Liliana, or I'm sorry, Commissioner, I should say. Thank you for coming down. I will next call on Christopher Ferguson. Christopher, are you available?
Sorry, council member, we do not have Christopher Ferguson in our attendee list.
Okay, the next speaker is Alyssa Yoder-Mann.
Hi there.
Hi, if you would state your name and the organization that you are associated with and remind you that you have 3 minutes.
Yes. My name is Elissa Yoderman, and I am an employee of the Sierra Club, Ohio, based out of Columbus. I wanted to thank everybody for this opportunity to talk to folks, and I really appreciate the earlier conversation when it talked about a circular economy. I wanted to point out that recycling is a great tool used to keep materials out of landfills and incinerators by using materials as much as possible until they've reached the optimum level of consumption. It's important for us to understand how these materials flow through our community and specifically what happens to the materials we send to Rumpke. Recyclers, us, citizens should know what the feedstock is being used for and what products are being created. This will in turn create a cleaner stream of material to Rumpke, encourage the purchase of products made of recycled materials, and overall decrease waste in landfills. Can you provide information regarding Rumpke waste and recycled materials sent inside the U.S.? What are the names and locations of the facilities receiving these materials? How much materials are sent to each facility? What happens to the materials at each facility? Is any Rumpke waste and or recyclable materials sent outside of the U.S.? If so, what is the name of the facility? Where is it located? How much materials are sent? And what happens to these materials? To your knowledge, are any materials incinerated? Often waste and recycled material change hands and are you tracking the material to ensure it is in fact recycled and as you intend and purport? To date, only 9% of the plastic ever produced has been recycled. Successful waste reduction and prevention encourages the redesign of products to increase the rate of recycling. Currently, number 1 and 2 materials are able to be recycled in most states and facilities, such as Rumpke. Number 4 and 5 have limited recycling depending on the facility, color, and application of the material. That leaves number 3, 6, and 7 with low recyclability rate, and in some cases not recommended to be recycled. The public's misunderstanding of the chasing arrows and numbers cause a false sense that recycling is a solution to the plastic pollution and results in a more contaminated stream of materials sent to Rumpke facilities. How is Rumpke, a significant player in the waste recycling chain, working with producers to improve design of materials intended to be recycled? Because right now, producers are making materials that are not intended to be recycled. How is Rumpke increasing consumer understanding of recyclable materials? And how, more importantly, how are they holding producers responsible for the entire life cycle of their products? As it was brought up earlier, the best thing is to have that plastic bottle produced here and recycled here and reused here. So how is Rumpke taking that step and discussing extended producer responsibilities? Thank you for your time, everybody. I think I made it within the 3 minutes.
Great job. Thank you for that. We appreciate it, and certainly give the opportunity to get some of that information back to you in a response. Our final speaker this evening is Ted Welch. Is Ted available this evening? Apparently not.
I'm sorry, council member, I do not have Ted Welch listed in our attendees. I'm sorry.
Would like to now just go back and make sure that if there were any responses to the speakers or, let anybody have any final words this evening. I'll start with Rumpke. Mark and Taylor, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Just in response to the last speaker, thank you so much for your comments. It sounds like you're very involved in recycling and you're very enthusiastic with it and very knowledgeable about it. So we really appreciate that. We probably don't have time to answer all of your questions, but we do have resources that address many of them. In particular, where the material goes, what it's turned into. I think Mark mentioned earlier that 95% of the recyclables that go through our facility are kept in the United States, and 80% of those stay in Ohio. So We can get those to you if we get your contact information. We'd also really love to have you in for a tour of our facility. I think that would allow for a more extensive conversation about everything that you're curious about. And I'm sure being part of the Sierra Club, you may have other friends who are involved in environmental initiatives and could get a group together. So really want to encourage that. But in regards to this meeting tonight, I think we've learned a lot. We've appreciated hearing from Columbus residents. We are so appreciative of the city of Columbus, of Councilmember Remy for having this meeting, and also for allowing us for the opportunity to share what we're going through and to share with everyone the great working opportunities at Rumpke. So we hope to see many of the people or your friends who have seen this at our facilities applying or at rumpke.com/careers. And thank you for this. We are truly committed to the city of Columbus. We see this as a partnership, and we genuinely appreciate all of you and your time.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity that we had today. It was enlightening, and you never want to hear bad things about your company or yourself, but we are goal-oriented, and we will get this corrected. I'd like to say also that 34 years ago, I started as a driver. Here I sit in front of you as a regional vice president. Rumpke does promote within, and we are looking for the best talent in the industry. And I'm excited for the future, especially with the recycling that we have going on and the communication with our business partners. And thank you once and for all. I appreciate Columbus and you, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carmen, Todd, do you have any last comments you'd like to make?
I don't know if Todd, I'll just say thank you again, Councilmember Remy, and to everyone in our community. Continue to engage, contact 311 with your questions, comments, concerns. Aside from the numbers, the data that we collect, the information that we collect is useful to the city. It's meaningful, and it serves to drive decisions and invoke meaningful change for our city. So please stay engaged. Continue to contact us with your issues, comments, and concerns. We appreciate you.
I couldn't agree more with Carmen's comments. Couldn't fight it with the mute button here at the end of the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you so much. TJ, Tim, anything?
TJ, if you want to go ahead. You can take yourself off mute first, TJ.
I hear you.
Am I on?
Yep.
Okay. I would like to reach out to our citizens and ask them to help us partnership a little bit here. This is a very difficult time, not for Rumpke, but for this entire industry. And we have 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycling. And in reality, recycling is the last option. And we're talking about yard waste, and we do have other options other than to put the yard waste out on the curb and have it hauled to a composting facility. I'd like to ask the residents to think about changing your lawn mowing habits. When we're getting ample amounts of rain, as we do during our spring, consider cutting your grass like once every 5 days. One thing this will ensure that you don't cut any more than 1/3 of the blade off at a time. You cut more than that, you start to really stress your lawn. A blade of grass is primarily moisture and nutrients. and we water our lawns and we fertilize our lawns, and then we bag our grass clippings and throw it away. Let your grass clippings hit the lawn and provide more moisture and more nutrients, for your lawn. Raise the deck of your mower when it gets hot and dry. This will help protect your lawn from drought. That's the reduce yard waste. How do we reuse yard waste? Learn about composting. You can go to the city webpage. You can, once you're there, you can go and search under backyard composting, and you can find a lot of information on how to compost in your backyard. And it's really not as difficult as it sounds. So, Councilmember Remy, I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, TJ. Tim?
Well, Councilmember, I just appreciate having the opportunity to discuss this. As you know, we've been receiving and hearing a lot of from the residents on this, and rightfully so. Just want to assure you that we're working our hardest. We're working with Rumpke on this day in and day out to try to right this ship. We're getting close. We expect it to get better fast here, and we'll continue on that. I do want to thank you, Councilmember, also for funding on the Recycle Right, where we're going to go out and start educating our residents a little more on the recycling opportunities and the correct way to recycle and what to recycle and how to increase those, because this will be our first educational campaign that we've had in quite some time since the initial rollout 10 years ago. So we're going to start working on some of those things to really try to drive this city to better recycling and everything we can keep out of that landfill that we can to extend the life of that. So all of these things matter. And as TJ said, it's reduce, reuse, and recycle, and it's in that order. We want you to reduce first. If you can't reduce it, reuse it. If you can't reuse it, then recycle it. But that is the order in which we want residents to try to work towards to reduce our overall footprint. And again, I thank you for the opportunity this evening.
Well, thank you, and appreciate everybody's commitment to working towards a solution. Our residents deserve to be serviced as according to the contract, and certainly we expect that the word get out, and hopefully you'll see an uptick in applications, and make sure that we can alleviate or minimize any type of service failure. So appreciate everybody's time coming here to talk today about this important topic. And I do want to thank the community for their engagement tonight. If you're interested in learning more about job opportunities at Rumpke, please visit rumpke.com/careers. Also, please learn more about recycling at recycleright.org. That's recycle, RIGHT at .com. .org. But I do want to thank our presenters from the Division of Refuse, Department of Neighborhoods, and Rumpke for your attendance and attention to this important issue. I hope we strive to be better partners, because we all know that the residents of Columbus deserve timely and consistent pickups of both recycling and yard waste. I do want to thank Angela Burks, Mark Carter, and our CTV team for assisting with our technology needs and connecting us with the community. We couldn't have done it without you. And I do want to thank and acknowledge and show appreciation to my council colleagues for joining this discussion, and certainly for their input in preparing for tonight's hearing. Lastly, I'd like to thank my team, who I couldn't do anything without, Jeffrey Carter and Lucy Frank, for their efforts in preparing us for this hearing this evening. I want to wish everybody a great evening, and thank you for tuning in. Good night.